Hello, you beautiful people, and welcome to another episode of I Am the Hammer, the show in which I talk about all things Grey Knights. The London Grand Tournament is fast approaching, and I'm having a bit of a dilemma at the moment. So, I need your help. Let's get started. So, in this episode, I am going to be basically talking about my list design as I prepare for the LGT. I tried out a new list. So I've got a quick fire tournament report for an RTT that I went to. I'm then just going to give a bit of my opinion and perspective on some of the units in the book. I'm going to talk about how I've been trying to deal with list paralysis because I'm really struggling at the moment to find a list that I like. I'm then going to share three different lists that I am currently considering for the LGT, and I've made a few tweaks to the ongoing matrix that I've been doing for the for my Grey Knights. So recently, I went to a very small little one-day event in Cambridge. Sons of War hosting it, just like 15, 16 players, just to try and get some reps. I wanted to try what it was like I wanted to see what it was like if I wasn't using any Dread Knights. Followers of the show will know that I've been trying different things. I've tried the French WTC list. I've tried playing without purifiers. This time I wanted to see what life was like with no Dread Knights and have three Librarians instead. So with that in mind, this list was Drago and five Terminators. It was a Brother Captain with 10 Paladins. I had one unit of Strikes, two units of Interceptors, three Librarians who were on their own. But if I played into Thousand Sons, one of them would swap with the Brother Captain and the Paladins, and then Crow with 10 Purifiers. This list leans into being able to kill infantry really well, but the idea was like the librarians were the anti-tank. So out of my three games, I guess I was thinking it would be quite nice to play into vehicles to see if this list could handle vehicles. Um, round one, I got Chaos Knights, so there you go. I played into Lily, who was a lovely opponent. On paper, this was an absolutely horrendous matchup. Grey Knights aren't particularly killy. They're not especially not that killy into vehicles. Lily had seven war dogs and then two big ones. I'm wounding the big ones on sixes with the in combat and having no Dread Knights, for the combat to try and get through and do something just causes issues. On top of that, it was the first UKTC mission, so it's Terraform and Swift Action. So all of his stuff can just advance to the middle. His seven War Dogs can advance and actions and that sort of thing. I knew this was a mission where I basically had to try and kill them as quickly as possible and then secret mission my way to success. And that did not happen. I went first, which is a theme. I went first every single game this event. And kind of just sat there and did nothing. Lily came out to play. I was like, right, let's see how many war dogs can I kill. And the librarians killed one perfectly, 12 wounds. Paladins and all my other shooting did absolutely nothing, like completely whiffed the paladins, didn't cause a single wound on a knight. The Drago went off and made his charge and killed one. But then two carnivals came over and killed Drago's squad in combat, and that's not great. That was mathematically it's quite close, but it shouldn't quite happen. So I wasn't really expecting that to happen. And that took away one of my damage dealing units. Obviously, the purifiers do literally nothing in this game. I took my secret mission and I scored it for having battle line in her deployment zone. I actually got it all wrong, and I ended up having to just. There were two war dogs left at the end, and the two big knights that I'd ignored, and I left the one in her deployment zone. She hadn't even thought about my secret mission. I had to drop my paladins down 9 inches away from one which was in my deployment zone, and just hope I could shoot and kill it on the charge and roll the nine. And instead, the paladins one shot it. Just happened. I was stupid. So yeah, this felt bad. This felt like a bad matchup and a bad mission for. I don't like that mission anyway. I just can't get my head around it. I've always struggled with Dawn of War style missions. Um, so yeah, that I didn't play particularly well. Lily did exactly the right thing. I just wasn't able to carve up a side quickly enough, and she got off a couple of terraforms, and she scored her secondaries really well. So yeah, not off to the best of starts. Then played into Salamanders, which had 3 dreadnoughts and a repulsor and a land raider, so yet more vehicles. Ben was like quite new to the game. So having said that, he played all right. He kind of gave me one unit at a time, so he kind of gave me the eradicators and the repulsor, and then the aggressors came over, but I couldn't actually get through the aggressors as quickly as I thought I would. By which time the dreadnoughts had caught up and the land raider and held kind of the middle. And whilst I'm trying to deal with certain things, he's then starting to get the hold moors and that sort of thing. It ended up quite close. I always felt in control, but yeah, it was a bit of a silly game. But it was fun, and did some teaching for Ben. He was still learning some of the rules. And then finally, I was playing 2 Imperial Agents. Now, this is a very interesting game. I was playing to Warwick, who's like genuinely delightful. Had a lovely game with him. Never played into Imperial Agents before. They've got lots of cool tricks. There are overriding issues. They don't have much killing power. So Warwick could put in the Knight Castellan. Oh, good, another giant vehicle. And then some Death Watch. And there's a 10-man Death Watch unit and a 5-man Death Watch unit. And they're quite killy. Other than that, nothing else does anything. It just sits there, in theory. Yeah, I said again, I went first. Not great on Burden of Trust. Burden of Trust is a rubbish mission. I hate it, especially if you go first because you don't score any primary. And this ridiculous situation where I was having the primary lead, so we got to turn 3. It was like I was on like 8 and he was on like 4 primary. And so I couldn't take a secret mission, but he had bottom of turn, so he was always going to get a big primary swing at the end because he had bottom of turn. So there's actually quite a lot of nuance to Burden of Trust as a mission. Burden of Trust, you need to clear a flank and lock it down. I didn't do that. I decided with my Purifiers, I drew really bad cards for the last 2 turns. For the first 2 turns, sorry. And so my Purifiers were going to go land in the backfield and just light up all of the home field units and then cause an issue. Instead, because of my cards, I dropped onto where his Death Watch veterans were and killed 9 out of the 10 of them, thinking I'll probably be safe here. But then the Knight Castellan and a little bit of shooting from couple of units killed them all. I left Crow alive, and the one remaining Death Watch veteran and the Watchmaster finished him off. Then I kept having to go over, and I couldn't quite lock down that objective, which meant my primary score was poor. I drew really bad cards in this game, and I did have a ridiculous turn where I opened up into a load of units and just didn't kill anything really. In his words, I've never seen anyone have such bad luck. But I generally don't talk about that sort of thing. I prefer to focus on the mission. I didn't get it right. You need to have a clear game plan on this mission, which is lock down one side of the board. I didn't do that. I don't think I played it right. So, disappointing day. I don't think I played very well. And this is something I've been thinking about a lot recently. I used to kind of play once a week. For the last probably 2 to 3 months, especially the last 2 months, pretty much my only games have been at events. I'm not practicing, I'm not getting reps, and I'm having to blow off the dust and get the rust off at the event. And it's not a good way of being if you want to do well at an event. So I was a bit frustrated. We've got at time of recording, it's Sunday. Like I could have played a TTS game today. Instead, I've got a bunch of videos to record, and it is something I'm struggling with a bit at the moment. Is all of my spare time is basically being spent doing content, so I'm not actually getting much chance to play. I just talk about Warhammer and I go to tournaments. So I do over the next 2 weeks need to carve out a couple of games just to try and run them. But I'm struggling with my list. I am struggling with my list, and that's what I want to talk about now. Um, it's genuinely started like stressing me out. Like the way I see it with my Grey Knights is there are things that I want to include in a Grey Knight list. I like my Paladin blob. I like having Dread Knights. I like having the Purifiers and Crow. I've started to see the use of librarians, and I do think you need them if you want to be able to win the Thousand Sun matchup. And I can see the advantage to Draco as well. You can't fit all of that in the list, basically. So it's like, what do you drop? What's the thing that you don't want to take? And I can't find a combination I like. At the moment, I kind of the last few weeks or months, I've been going down the line of, I'm going to try all these things out. Like, I'll try librarians, I'll try no Dread Knights, I'll try no Purgation Marines, I'll try a WTC list with librarians, whatever. And actually, what it's done is rather than helping me make my mind up, it's just opened my mind to a load of varieties. I can't find a list that does all the things I want. And to an extent, maybe you can't actually build that list. Obviously, at the moment, what is in vogue, a lot of people are talking about is 30 Terminators or 20 Terminators and 10 Paladins. Jack Harps has been doing it. One of my teammates, Harley's been did well and got to the final with 30 Terminators. So it's good. I think that sort of list, I've played something similar before. You really need reps with it. I don't have the time to get reps into it. So that's why that's not a list that I am thinking of exploring. So yeah, I've been trying to go back to the basics of list construction. I just was trying to think about what's going to be my scoring units, what are my killing units, like what blends together. I tried building a list which was like, what are the things I definitely want in a list, and then what points are left over. And I built a list and I had like 200 points left over. And it's just awkward. The one thing that is helping to an extent is that LGT is a completely different beast, right? It's 900, 1,000 player event. You can't go into that event thinking, oh, I'm going to play XYZ. Like, it's so open ended. You can get to 4-0. I've not played anyone of any like renown or good ability, and you could then get lucky with your fifth game. Like, it genuinely is that big an event. So it's trying to plan for what the meta armies are. For someone like me who's obviously not going to try and win the LGT, I've got friends who are going to try and win the LGT, and for them it's obviously a different beast, different problem to solve. For me, it's you can't build for what you want. So I'm trying to go down the line of playing what I enjoy, including the things that I enjoy. And so my current leanings towards my the list I went 4-1 with at Sheffield. Came 17th there, did really well. Only game I lost was in the mirror to someone with 3 librarians and 3 units of Terminators, which I was never going to win. But this bottom point, this might not make sense, but to me, it's incredibly important. Have resilience in what you want to stick to. Stick to your guns. I currently don't have that. I'm low on confidence with my play. I'm low on my confidence with list design. Someone will literally be like, I put it this way, I'll have made my mind up that I'm not going to take Crow and Purifiers. And I'll talk to one person who'll be like, oh yeah, I love my Crow and Purifiers. They're so good in so many matchups. And then I'm like, yeah, you're right. I need my Crow and Purifiers. It's like, I'm just so easily manipulated at the moment. And yeah, it's not a fun place to be, really. So I must admit I am struggling. So here are 3 lists I've built for the LGT that I'm thinking of taking. So first of all, this is my list that I took to Sheffield, as I said. So Crow, 10 Purifiers, Grandmaster with 10 Paladins, 2 units of Strikes, 1 unit of Interceptors, 3 Dread Knights and Calidus. I think at the moment you need the Grandmaster for Necron matchup. There's Necrons everywhere. This list does not have librarians, and it does not have Draco. this list auto loses to Thousand Suns. So it's not a teams list. Well, it could be a teams list, but Grey Knights can build to take on Thousand Suns, and a lot of people want to be able to do that. So that's why for teams, you'll see something like what the French took. Um, but yeah, this is the list I'm leaning towards at the moment. It's fun. It does all the things. Um, it works, but it loses to Thousand Suns. Doesn't have a very good game to Demons as well. So let's just hope you dodge those things at LGC. This is another list I built. So this is a brother captain. So this is 2,000 points on the nose, which is why it's a brother captain, not the grandmaster. Brother captain with 10 paladins, Drago with 5 terminators, 2 librarians, 2 units of strikes, 1 unit of 5 interceptors, 2 NDK, and a navigator. So navigator is a 75-point model that has a 12-inch deep strike bubble, which is actually really useful when your strikes are off going and doing their thing. So yeah, this list obviously doesn't have the purifiers in, basically. And it's only got 2 Dread Knights. But again, I think this is a good list. It's 2,000 on the nose, as I said, so I can't have the Grandmaster in there, which is a bit of an issue. But yeah, I think it could work. Yeah, you'll see I go for 2 strikes and 1 interceptor unit a lot. At the RTT, I was actually quite missed my second unit strikes. It adds that bit of reassurance for secret missions, which is really important. Obviously, this probably does secret missions a bit better because it's got Drago and the Terminators as your warlord, so that could be a pain. So I do like this list. I think this is also a potential list. I don't own a navigator, so I might be last minute buying one. And finally, this was another list I built. This is my no Dread Knight list. So it's Grandmaster with 10 Paladins. It's 3 Librarians. It's Drago with 10 Terminators, 2 units of Strikes, 2 units of Interceptors. Was it 4? It's quite a few drops, and it's got a lot of mission play because there's 3 librarians and 4 units of troops, whilst you've got your 2 sledgehammer units. So yeah, so as you can see, I've got a list with no Drago, I've got a list with no purifiers, and I've got a list with no Dread Knights. I don't know what one to take, and it's all a bit frustrating. So I don't know. Let me know in the comments. Is there one that you think is better than the others that you would lean to? Maybe you could put your list in the comments, and then you'll immediately persuade me. I'd be like, "Oh, it's a great list." You'll see, I never take more than 3 Nemesis Dread Knights. Maybe that's a route I could go down. I could go down to 4 and 5, but I just don't find them reliable enough, to be honest. So yeah. So here's my updated matrix. I made a few kind of like tweaks and that sort of thing. I've changed. What did I change? Chaos Knights. I put it down to a 9 from a 12. I think it actually it depends on the mission, I think, and your list and their list. But in that game, I killed 7 war dogs, and that was without really wasting any activations apart from turn 1. So, if they've got 13 or 14 of them, then 13 of them, then extra issues. And I put Imperial Agents in there. They don't kill much, right? I didn't play very well on any other mission. I pretty confidently win that, I think. I just didn't play that mission well, and he played it well. But I would back myself to win that game most of the time. So, as always, thank you very much for watching. I hope you have enjoyed. If you haven't, please do subscribe to the channel. Give this video a like and a comment. Got a really active Discord, lots of talking there, lots of chat. And next time I will be talking through how I got on, which is very exciting. And I'll probably have a big trophy behind me, or it could be an unmitigated disaster, and I could be saying adios to the Grey Knights. Who knows? We'll find out. Take care.